Have you ever wondered how shrimp go from those impossibly small eggs to those incredibly colourful adults? In this video, I'll not only show you how they go from those tiny eggs to full-grown adults, but tell you what you can do to make sure you grow the biggest, most colourful colony you possibly can. I'll share with you the full life cycle of the humble Neocaridina shrimp, from the tiny eggs to the full-grown adult. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Richard, and I'm a shrimp keeper based in the UK. So where does our shrimp's journey begin? Well, with a tiny egg. Inside each of our female Neocaridina shrimp, just behind their head, are the ovaries, and in the ovaries, the eggs develop. Now often the first we will know that we have eggs developing inside our females is the small orange or yellow patch that develops just behind the head. Now this is the eggs themselves developing, and as those eggs develop, as they mature, as they ripen, the patch grows larger and larger, and often our shrimp keepers will refer to this as the shrimp's golden saddle, or we will say that shrimp is saddled, because it does. On the back of a shrimp, it does look like a saddle right in the middle. Now, one thing to bear in mind is the higher quality your shrimp, the darker the colour of your shrimp, the less likely you are to be able to see that saddle. If you've got yourself a basic cherry shrimp, or maybe a snowball shrimp, or something with a light colour, you will easily be able to see the eggs developing inside the female. If, on the other hand, you've got yourself a strain of Bloody Mary shrimp, or you've got some black rose shrimp, the colour there is so opaque, so dark, you won't typically see the eggs developing inside the female. Now, when those eggs are fully mature and the female is ready to breed, she will molt. She has to molt because she has a hard exoskeleton, and the male cannot penetrate that exoskeleton. It's too tough. So she will molt. After she molts, she will have a soft exoskeleton just for a very short period. The window of opportunity is really quite small. So the female molts, and she gives off some sort of a beautiful pheromone that the males can smell. If you ever see males whizzing around your tank for no apparent reason, then the chances are a female has molted and she's ready to mate. So after she molts, the male and the female will mate, which is a process that takes 10 seconds or less. It really is quick. There's no messing about whatsoever. After they've mated, the eggs will pass down through the female's genital opening, through the sperm deposited by the male, and under her body. And she will develop essentially a pouch using her pleopods, using the sides of her body, which are slightly elongated. She will create a pouch, and she will hold on to those eggs for between 25 and 35 days, depending on the water temperature. The average is about 30 days. For 30 days, she will hold on to those eggs. Now, there is no doubt at some point you've looked into your tank, or you've looked into someone else's tank, and you've seen the female shrimp holding on to eggs. And we shrimp keepers refer to this as the female is buried. The female is holding on to eggs. Now, she will spend that whole time fanning fresh water across the eggs. She does this for two reasons. One, to keep oxygenated water travelling across the eggs whilst they develop, and two, to prevent detritus and fungus building up on those eggs while she's holding on to them. Now, at this point, it's important to note that the eggs can be really varied in colour, and the colour of the eggs is not determined by the colour of the adults. A female can be holding on to eggs that are white, yellow, orange, green, or even a blue colour. And this can often be disconcerting to new shrimp keepers, because they'll look in, they'll see their female with this green mass underneath her, and they'll think it's the dreaded green fungus. I've spoken to hobbyists before that have killed off females that were holding green eggs because they thought the female had green fungus. Bear in mind, females can hold on to a wide variety of different coloured eggs, and the colour of the eggs bears no resemblance to the colour of the adults or the babies. So as I say, the female will spend around 30 days holding on to those eggs, nurturing those eggs, doing everything she can to make sure they develop properly and survive. Now, before we move on to the eggs hatching and how they develop, I just wanted to let you know that my new book, the Neocaridina Shrimp Handbook, is almost ready to be released. And if you're interested in downloading a copy as soon as it's ready, then I'll put a link in the description below, or you can click on the QR code on the screen and put in your email address and be the first to know as soon as that book is ready to be downloaded. After anywhere between 25 and 35 days, the eggs will be ready to hatch. Now, the female will give them a swift kick with her back legs to free the babies, to get them out of their eggs, and at that point, she's done. She takes no parental care of her babies whatsoever. Now, one slight caveat here is the females do appear to look for somewhere safe to deposit the eggs when they're ready to hatch. It does seem that females prefer to release the babies near a pile of rocks or near a good clump of plants or java moss. It seems that the females do actively seek out a safe refuge for the babies. When the babies hatch, they're absolutely tiny. They might only measure 2 millimeters across. They have no way to defend themselves from predators. So the female deposits them somewhere where they can be safe, because in the first few weeks of their life, the babies don't move around a great deal at all. Because the babies are so small, the food they eat has to be even smaller. It's damn near microscopic. They will consume biofilm, the starts of algae, microscopic crustaceans. They'll eat detritus. They'll eat pretty much anything they come across, wherever they happen to be. Personally, I have never added special baby food to my shrimp tanks. There are a number of different foods you can get, a number of different foods on the market designed for baby shrimp. Personally, I've bred thousands of shrimp at this point, and I've never ever felt the need to add special powdered food for babies. But if you wish to, they are on the market. You can source powdered food for baby shrimp. Give them a try. Let me know how you get on. Now, as I say, newborn shrimp are absolutely tiny. They may be a couple of millimeters across. And if you're a newborn shrimp, to you, a neon tetra is a hardcore predator. And we need to bear this in mind. If you're going to keep any fish at all, with the possible exception of an otter cinclus, if you're going to keep any fish at all with your shrimp, you have to accept that at some point, some or all of those babies are going to be eaten by the fish in your tank. Which is why you need to provide lots and lots of cover, whether that's clumps of java moss, piles of rocks, live aquarium plants, whatever it might be. The more cover you provide, the greater the chance that some of those babies will survive to adulthood. So our baby shrimp will continue to feed and continue to grow for around 50 to 60 days, at which point they're typically considered juvenile shrimp. Now, juvenile shrimp will start to show some colour of the adults. If you have a tank of blue juveniles, they will clearly be blue shrimp, although they won't necessarily show the full coloration of your adults. You can't necessarily tell how deep, dark, bright and colourful the shrimp will be just based on its juvenile state. Now, in that first 50 or 60 days, the shrimp will have to molt regularly. And if you're not familiar with molting, our shrimp have a hard exoskeleton around their bodies. They don't have an internal skeleton like we do. They have a hard exoskeleton, and that exoskeleton doesn't grow as the shrimp grows. So periodically, the shrimp has to break out of that exoskeleton, where it has a new fresh one, a slightly larger exoskeleton underneath. And that's known as molting. The younger the shrimp is, the more often it will molt. Baby shrimp will molt perhaps once a week. As they go onto their adult stages, it might be every 10 days, every 2 weeks. The older it gets, the less frequently the shrimp molts. But each time it molts, it grows slightly. It becomes slightly larger. By the time our shrimp reach adult stage, they may only molt once every 30 or 45 days. It really does become less and less frequent. Our shrimp may spend 1 to 2 months in this juvenile state, and they will essentially spend their entire day eating and growing. That's all they've got to do. It's not always obvious at this stage which are the boys and which are the girls, although you may be able to tell them apart. They tend to look much for muchness when they're in the juvenile state. Neocaridina shrimp aren't usually sexually dimorphic until they're fully mature at 4 to 6 months of age. Once our shrimp reach adult stage, the colour is what it is. It doesn't tend to develop much after that. They don't tend to mature a great deal more. So now we have our adult shrimp, our sexually mature shrimp. And what will happen is the females will start to develop eggs in their ovaries. And as those eggs develop, you'll start to see them on her back. And as they ripen, they'll start to travel down her back. We'll refer to having a golden saddle. And the cycle will be complete. Our shrimp will have gone from a tiny egg to a baby, to a juvenile, all the way round to the adult stage. The cycle will have come full circle, and the next generation of shrimp will be on their way. So what can you do to ensure you take as many shrimp as possible from the egg stage all the way through to mature adults who can then go on to produce the next generation of shrimp? Well, one of the most important things you can do is feed your shrimp a good quality, varied diet. Yes, our shrimp spend much of their time eating biofilm and detritus and uneaten food from around the tank. But for the colony to grow large, for the colony to grow strong, you need to make sure you feed good quality foods. I like to feed a lot of frozen foods, bloodworm, daphnia, brine shrimp, any foods that essentially were once live and have been frozen into cubes or slabs. Make amazing food for our shrimp. When I'm trying to grow a really large colony, I might feed my shrimp bloodworm 3 or 4 times a week. Female shrimp require fairly large quantities of protein to produce all those eggs, and bloodworm are packed full of protein. They're the perfect food if you want your females to be developing large clutches of eggs. The other thing you can do is to keep your shrimp in a shrimp-only tank. It's perfectly fine to keep your shrimp in with fish, but you have to accept some of those shrimp will be eaten. If you are 2 millimeters long, it doesn't matter how small the fish is, the chances are it's going to come and eat you. In the past, I've managed to keep a large colony of red cherry shrimp in with Congo tetras. Congo tetras reach a good 3 or 4 inches, but I managed to do that because I kept the tank absolutely rammed full of live plants. When it comes to being eaten, if you're a shrimp, out of sight is out of mind. You want to make sure you have lots of live plants, or piles of rocks, or Java moss. Java moss is one of the best plants if you want your shrimp babies to survive. And if you want to know how to grow large clumps of Java moss, watch this video next. Thanks for watching.